So Dungeons and Dragons is one of a wide variety of what's called tabletop RPGs, which are, they're tabletop as in you gather around a table with a bunch of people. RPG as in role playing game, as in you all pretend to be characters in a different setting, or if you're the DM, you pretend to be multiple characters.
I've heard it said that like the GM basically controls like most of what's happening in the world. So they set the scenes and stuff, but the players get to determine what the soundtrack is to that scene and what the dialogue is like.
Over time, like now, I view more like improv with like rules to it, you know. And usually those rules, at least in D&D, they pertain to like adventuring through dungeons.
The way I see RPGs after like playing them a lot and like getting some experience with them is just like the fact that in practice they end up being kind of like a video game or a board game instead of like needing a computer to run like the rules or like tell or help you like work through the story. You can just do that with other people's minds. I would my one word takeaway from what RPGs mean to me would be empowerment. All my feelings on it could be summed up best with a Neil Gaiman quote, paraphrasing here. Like the world shows us that there's monsters. Fairy tales show us that the monsters can be beaten, and I think that tabletop RPGs, for a lot of people, basically let them know that they can be the people who beat those monsters.
It's it's a creative outlet for me primarily. It's also, I think, for a while it was my main way of socializing, um, and my main way of making friends, and it is also for a while it was also my main way of exploring my identity.
Every character you make, like you made, like part of you has made that, and like you could see things in your characters that you see in yourself, and I think that's pretty cool.
It is particularly funny that um, RPGs let you play people that are different from you.
Role players, like it is a matchmaking club for people who want to play D&D games, and there are plenty of TTRPG games hosted. Like,
So yeah, it's a community generally that like formed around tabletop RPGs, but it's not they're around tabletop RPGs, but then tabletop RPGs aren't around role players confining us, if that makes sense. That's like the main point of it. I think that was the main point of it when it was founded. Although it was a much smaller group at the time. I think it was just one D&D game that was going on, and then it kind of exploded from there.
I was running one, and then Richard, who was basically the only other person running a game at that time, was running one, and those were the only two that like kept going. And then we started adding more and more as more people got interested.
Yeah. So it kind of grew from just like two games, and now there's, I believe, over 700 users in the Rollplayers server. Probably, but more than likely, Pitt's largest club in terms of the volume of students in it. But there's also a significant portion of people in that server who are active and talk a lot, but never participate in any of the like actual tabletop RPGs. So it's like a tabletop RPG matchmaking service, but it is also like just a community for people to hang out in.
We specialize in tabletop role playing games. We do play like card games and board games and video games on the server.
There's a bunch of different channels in the role players server for people to talk about different things. There's a channel for card games and board games, and there are a lot of Magic the Gathering players, for example, or like Warhammer. The current president plays Warhammer. And then there's a video games channel, and so many people talk about so many video games in that channel. Primarily tabletop RPGs, but like, gamers are gamers.